Okay, this Hangout on Air is live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cinemats with Rob and Silent J. I'm Rob.
I am Silent J, and this is our intro.
And,
Two vets, two different worlds, one badass show. Center Mass with Rob and Silent J, blowing your mind away on the Vets Own Media Network.
I'm watching you drink that soda, and I can, hear your liver and kidney crying for help.
It's okay, because Jesse's helping me.
Oh, good stuff. Somebody, God, who was it? I can't remember what it was. Oh, yeah, Topless. Who was it that was Topless? Jessica Alba or something? Somebody put something on Facebook. They had it was Jamie. He had two sodas next to each other. It was like, is whatever, half off, Topless. I can't remember what it was.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, I just blew that joke, so it's not going to be funny for anybody at any given time.
I laughed a lot.
Sorry about that for everybody. I love boobs, so what are you going to do? Joe, so I know you sent me, you got a bunch of stuff that you want to talk about, so this is probably going to be a very interesting show.
Mm-hmm.
There's two quick things I got to run my mouth about because they're just they're really on the tip of my tongue, and they're just really cool. And one, especially you, so everybody else listening, sorry, this is a Joe and I kind of conversation, but I think you guys will have fun because there's a lot of parents out there. You know, there's one thing that I think there's a lot of stuff you don't get until you're a parent. My best friend in the world, this guy Taylor, I've been best friends with him since first grade. I was the first out of my circle to get married, first out of my circle to have kids, first out of my circle to be divorced. But when the marriage thing happened and the kids thing happened, you know, a lot of these guys that I would talk to quite a bit that didn't have kids yet got kind of mad, and I'd get these smart remarks from them about oh, you never hang out anymore, oh, we never hear you, oh, you never call brother, blah, 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 stuff like that. And then hey dude, sorry, kids, I got kids. I got Robert, and then when we had Avery, I got kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then Taylor contacted me. He doesn't have kids, but he is very serious with a woman who has two of her own kids. And when that happened and they kind of started getting hot and heavy, I still remember the day that he called, and he was like, hey dude, I'm sorry, I get it, I totally get it, I understand, once you have kids, nothing else matters. And it's amazing, the littlest things that can really just, make your whole day. And I've heard a lot of comedians that make fun of that, comedians that don't have kids, they're like, oh yeah, yes, I want to see another one of your baby photos. Oh yes, please tell me another story about your boring kids. But it really is, and if I have a comic friend that doesn't have kids, I don't care about you. Just understand, dude, if you want to make fun of me for paying more attention to my kids, understand, on the totem pole of what's important to me, kids, you're way down here, right? Even oxygen is below this. Oxygen, food, and food's a big thing for me. But speaking of that, I have my kids on Sundays. We get to go play. We have these daddy days, and so we've been doing, fun stuff up to now, but I was at the VA this week, and I sat down with my counselor, and we were talking about how important, real quality time is. And for guys, quality time is hard to understand. For us, with females, quality time is having sex. With, kids, quality time is having fun at the amusement park. But in reality, to the other people in our life, quality time sometimes is just hanging out together. If it's with your significant other, snuggling and watching a movie. With kids, doing all kinds of stuff. So instead of going out today, I took my kids and I brought them here. They had never been to my new house. So I brought them here. We played. We watched cartoons. We drew. Had a really fun time. Then I took them swimming, gave them a bath, and I made them dinner. Now, I'm a big food guy, and I love cooking. I think cooking is it's a big thing for me. It's relaxing. It's like my yoga. And I made my kids dinner for the first time in 4 or 5 months, for the first time in a long time. And my son goes, Dad, Mommy and Popo, which is Chinese for grandma, Mommy and Popo, they don't cook very good food, but you always cook really good food. I really like your food, Dad. And I was like, yes, score! Yes, 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 I'm the best dad in the world. Because that's food's a big thing for me. And I remember having a conversation with Cindy before we got married. All the women in her family are phenomenal cooks. She's lazy, so she doesn't cook. She just doesn't do anything domestic at all. And so we had this thing where she was like, God, one day, because I cook all the time. I love cooking. I put a lot of effort into it because I'm a pleaser. I like making people happy. And I remember this conversation where she's like, God, one day we're going to have kids, and our kids are going to like your cooking so much better than me. And I was like, oh, no, well, you never cook, so how could they really have anything to judge it against? But that, like, yeah, that was my, like, revenge is sweet. Made me very happy. It was a great day for me. Not just because we got to spend quality time, but because I got to hear. That was the first time my kids have ever told me, your cooking is better than Mom's. So I was
Nice.
pretty happy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
those little things, especially when you first split up, and your child tells you, "Oh, you do this better than than Mom or Dad." It's those little. It's a fist pump, at first, because So I've been there, and yeah, I don't know.
It was definitely. I wanted to give him a hit dad up high, buddy, but he's a little too young for that.
Yeah. So, what did you make?
It was nice, like chicken marsala and like organic mac and cheese and just peas and carrots. Nothing too big, but the chicken masala was really good. And their mom's version of cooking is going to Chick-fil-A. So it was or ordering Papa John's, so it was. And their grandma only cooks Taiwanese food. So Taiwanese food is great, but you're eating like fish soup for breakfast? Yeah. Not really, not so much.
I had
Especially when you grow up.
Vietnamese like a week or two ago. I had what is it? Pho, their soup.
Yeah, pho, yeah.
With brisket in it.
Yep.
It was phenomenal. It was good. I like
Have you ever
it.
had banh mi?
Which one? What is that?
Banh mi is the pork belly sandwich with jalapenos and like pickled carrots and like, yeah. So Irvine.
I'm a big fan of pork belly. It's like the Cadillac of pig.
It is. Irvine here in Southern California is like Orange County essentially. Has like the highest number of Vietnamese outside of Vietnam, and so like if you like Vietnamese food, pho, banh mi, Thai tea, boba, all that good stuff. Irvine. I mean, it's like it's where it's at, man. It's a really good place to do. There was a pho place when Cindy used to live in the Valley. Whenever I would come visit, I'd have to go to this place every day that I was in town when I was living in Germany, and I'd go and get the same thing: get a big bowl of pho, get a banh mi sandwich, and get like 3 Thai iced teas with boba. To the point where, I mean, and I'd be gone. I'd only be in once every 2 or 3 months. But every time I came in, the guy was like, "Okay, we'll get it ready." Like, he just knew me. He just knew my big fat white face every time I walked in. Like, "Oh, round eye, I know what you want."
Yeah, my the Thai tea. I had the Vietnamese coffee. I never had it before. I'm like, I'll try it. I love trying different types of coffee. Not like what's like Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's. I mean, like a real good coffee. So I'm like, I want to try something traditional. Wow, that stuff is sweet. A little too sweet for me. It's like half a glass of the what is it? Evaporated or condensed milk in it.
Yeah.
Too much. It was too sweet for me. It was good. If they made milkshake, that would have been awesome. And I went the Rob way. I'm like, I got to put ice on it. So I had it the percolator with the coffee and the condensed milk, and then I poured it on ice, and I didn't. It was all right. It was too sweet at the end. I had got diabetes I feel like Walter Brimley now.
There you go. People give me shit about the ice and coffee thing, but it's the same. Like for me, I can't get a massage not because I don't enjoy it, but because I feel like I'm wasting time. I can't sit still for that long and not do something. And so I'm the same way with coffee. Like some people like to sit around and read the paper and drink a coffee and do that deal. I'm not like, no, fuck it. Just fill it with ice, put the coffee in there. I can chug it like a whiskey, and then I'm out. And then I'm like, that's it. And I got it. And all the caffeine hits you at once. Everything's done. Like, just, yeah.
I like a nice cup of coffee, but I'm impatient when it comes to eating. Kind of, you're impatient with time. You can't sit still or stand still. You always have something to do. I'm just impatient when it comes to something I enjoy eating. So I have a constant burn mark in the roof of my mouth. I ate something a couple weeks ago. I think it was like a pizza or something when my furniture was moving and I didn't really have anything. I bit into this pizza, and the cheese stuck to the roof of my mouth, and I was like, you could feel the numb spot, and I pulled a big chunk of skin like that out and just kept eating. I did it last night too. I was eating or drinking something, and I got a burn mark. So I really think that area of the roof of my mouth is just going to go numb one of these days because I don't wait for my food to cool down.
Well, especially like there should be some kind of code you can give to the pizza guy, because that's like straight up chemical warfare.
Yeah.
Like when you're moving or like some kind of physical exhaustion and you order a pizza just out of necessity and it's one of those like, man, I'm starving, I got 10 seconds to eat, there should be like a, hey, this is a pizza for a bunch of guys that are moving, because that shit's going to my mouth the second it's in the door. Like, I'm going to eat a piece on the way back to the kitchen. When I put it down, all the grubby hands start taking their own pieces. There should be something that the pizza places have to do when you can give them that, like, party. There's a house full of drunk guys watching the Super Bowl. We just got done moving. We're fixing, or just we're a bunch of guys that have been drinking. And it should, or like a college frat party. And that should be like the code, like, okay, get it out of the oven, put it in the freezer for about 5 minutes, and then bring it, so you don't let me murder myself because I'm a glutton and I can't wait that long. So, speaking of which,
yeah, go ahead.
No, because I'm going to go way off on another tangent right now.
Last night I went out with my family, well, some of my family, and we went from one restaurant to another because we were in a shopping district, and it was just like an hour wait. Called, okay, we're there. So I'm extremely hungry. My daughter's extremely hungry. As soon as we got the food, the first thing I did was bite into it, and the same thing last night. I was like, I did it again. It wouldn't have been like that if I got to go to the restaurant of my choosing. I wanted to go to, there was a Brazilian steakhouse right across the street, and I wanted to go so bad, but everybody was like, is like on a budget, and you go into a Brazilian steakhouse, I think it's like, that place, it's like $50 just to sit down. So, and 9, 10 of us.
Steak is good.
Yeah, there's like 8, 9, 10 of us with kids, like 11. So it's like, we're not fit for a Brazilian steakhouse. We're fit for a bar and grill, getting pasta and burgers and stuff like that. But the whole time I'm just thinking about nice, beautiful cuts of steak and lamb and all this stuff, and I get this barbecue pulled pork burger, and I'm like, it's really not what I wanted. I wanted my card green. No, I did not. No, it was a place called Jack Astor's. It was like a bar and grill, So I was fantasizing about having my card green the entire time, just getting shovelfuls of beautifully cooked meat shoved in my face.
You said this is one thing. So food is a big thing for me. I'm Southern, so I love barbecue. Like Caleb Bacon just put out that little thing on Facebook that he's going to Austin. He's like, I'm going to Austin. Where should I eat? And I sent him a list of like, bam, 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 bam. God, I wish I was going with you. But thankfully my pants will fit next week and yours won't. When you said barbecue pulled pork sandwich or burger, that was something I remember. I went to B-Dubs with my dad maybe a month ago when he came into town. There's a B-Dubs right by the airport.
Yep.
And there's something on their menu that it says pulled pork sandwich, and I ordered it, and it's a burger with pulled pork on it. And I almost punched the waiter in the dick. Like, I was irate. I was like,
yeah, this
and I took
burger was misleading because it didn't have any. It was supposed to have pulled pork on it. I didn't even think it did, but my girl said, yeah, in the menu it said pulled pork on it. It's supposed to have pulled pork, like fried onions, banana peppers, barbecue sauce, and then the burger. I took one bite into it. I just it wasn't a happy grease that hit my stomach. It was a very upsetting grease that hit my stomach. I didn't even finish it. I was so damn hungry. I was eating my French fries. I don't like French fries too much, but it was disappointing. And I'm just thinking the whole time I could be at a Brazilian steakhouse going, yes, I want more. Here's my card is not red. Give me more of the fillet. Come on, keep it coming. Keep it coming, motherfucker. No.
Andale, arriba. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Well, speaking of food, well, this has nothing to do with food, but it has to do with our impatient, gluttonous asses. I put a thing out on Facebook last night. I was kind of cagey because I didn't really want to talk too much about what I was doing. I got invited to this event at the Beverly Hills Sofitel Hotel, which is a place that a guy like me should never be allowed inside.
I looked it up. I'm taking my dog for a walk, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, is he at a rub and tug? I thought you were at some fancy place that gives hand jobs. So I looked it up. I'm like, wow, even nicer. And picked up dog shits. So you were at a fancy restaurant. I was picking up animal excrement.
Well, not the restaurant. It was the hotel. So the Hotel Sofitel is a big 5-star swank place. I got invited to this event that was like, I think I was the only one that didn't have 7 or 8 zeros behind my income. I met the CEO of DirecTV. I met a bunch of like, CAA and UTA agents. I met a bunch of really freaking high-profile people, and it was cool. But the thing about it was this event. It's called STEAM: Science, Technology, Education, Arts, and music. It's basically they're raising money to put these programs back in schools because Los Angeles is broke, and so they cut out like arts and science and a lot of this other stuff. So they're raising money privately, and apparently Michelle Obama was there right before he got there, and like asked him about this stuff, and they're going to implement it nationally. There's a lot of big stuff there.
They sure she was gone before you got there.
Yeah, and good thing because I think I was the only conservative there, and the person that invited me and brought me was like, good thing I'm not going to tell anybody around here that you're conservative.
Nice.
I actually had somebody that was talking. They're like, "What do you do?" And I was like, "Well, this is my agent with CA. She represents me, and she's doing this, and she, And she's like, well, how does she represent you? I was like, oh, well, somebody gave her my book, and I wrote a book about my time in Special Forces, and she was like, Special Forces? What's that? And I was like, are you kidding me? Oh, I'm in Los Angeles. Oh, I'm in Beverly Hills. Yes, okay, you're right. You probably can't put your shoes on.
Forces. Oh, bless your heart. He works for the United Way.
Yeah, very interesting. But the whole reason I got on this thread is I didn't want to go. This whole week I've got like maximum 4 hours sleep a night. Like it's just been going. Busy, good busy, but just busy as hell. A little insane. And so like I was getting ready to go last night. I had a client meeting at like 10 a.m. and that was going to be it for the rest of the day. And then I was supposed to be at the hotel at 6, and had like 3 other things that stacked onto the last minute. So I had to go into my other office and spend all day in the office. And like 2 hours where I'm supposed to go, I was sitting down at my desk like, what excuse can I make for not wanting to go? I was like, because it's a very it's one of those first impressions you can never make again. Like for a guy in my position in multiple levels, as a author, as a potential guy trying to sell his book to a movie, as like a financial advisor, like everything that I do, it was paramount that I was on my A game there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of like, it might be better for me to not go because I'm exhausted. I'm really like, cylinders aren't firing right now. Like, a lot of stuff is going on. And the person that invited me was like, no, just come over. This is the girl that's representing me. Like, she represents experts. So her husband is a CAA agent and wants to basically sell my book to movie studios. And she wants to be the person that gets me on different TV shows whenever like war breaks out or whatever. So she called me to come over to sit down with her and her husband for a little while before we went. She was like, no, just come here. We can figure out if we have to go or not, but I want you to come over. So I was like, okay, whatever. She got a really nice, like, $4 million house in Beverly Hills. I was like, I'll at least go over there and drink a martini or two or hang out and just have some fun and, at least shoot the shit and talk to them about, how they're going with my, potential career or stuff like that. So I get in there and she can kind of see that I'm like, bleh, just kind of down. Mm-hmm. And she hands me this book. Have you ever heard of Ram Dass?
Ram Dass. What is that?
Ram Dass is the guy, right? So here's the book that she gave me. She ended up giving me the book, right? Ram Dass is this guy. He's like he was a Hindu. Yeah, I think he's Hindu. He has his own foundation. He was like the religious guy with Timothy Leary and all these other guys, like acid and psilocybin and mushrooms and religion all put together in the 60s. That's Ram Dass, right?
Okay, yeah, I know who you're talking about now.
So I start flipping through this book, and there's a book, and he's talking like, I'm just flipping through, just kind of skimming through it, and I'm seeing like LSD on one page and like keep going psilocybin. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what is this? So I've never read any of the stuff, but I've heard a lot of it before. And so I start reading through it, and I get to the middle, and there's like this whole, I don't know how to explain it. It's like this cutout section in the middle that's got like this art, and it's just got these quotes from him. And it's all, like the book is basically called Be in the Now, right? What is it? Yeah, Be Here Now. Yeah, it's called Be Here Now, right? So it's all about being within the moment, because that's the thing about, like, me, the massage thing. It's really hard for me to be in the moment. Like, I always have to be 10 steps ahead. I always have to be planning. I always have to know what's going on. And that was me getting ahead of myself last night. Like, fuck, I'm going to show up. I'm going to be too tired. Like, I'm going to not represent myself well. Like, should I even go? Blah, 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 blah. And so she's like, sit down in the chair. I'm going to go get ready. I want you to read this book for a little while. I was like, all right. So I start reading through it, and it totally changed my, like, by the time she was ready and her husband was ready, I was like, all right, let's go. Like, totally changed my entire perspective, my entire outlook. Made me, like, Very, very happy. And I want to read a couple. I just want to read a couple of these quotes, just because it's like some heavy shit, man. Heavy stuff. So now this is where my hippie side comes out a little bit. So just remember, I was still in the Army, still Green Beret, still barrel-chested, meat-eating, gunpowder slinging, freedom fighter. But I get a little hippie every once in a while, right? So here's just some of these random stuff that he's got in here that he's written out. We're talking about a metamorphosis. We're talking about going from a caterpillar to a butterfly. We're talking about how to become a butterfly. I mean, the caterpillar isn't walking around saying, man, I'll soon be a butterfly. Because as long as he's busy being a caterpillar, he can't be a butterfly. It's only when caterpillarness is done that one starts to be a butterfly. And that, again, is part of this paradox. You cannot rip away caterpillarness. The whole trip occurs in an unfolding process under which you have no control. Well, that's a hard one. What am I doing here if I have no control? You mean I don't have any choice? Can I say this is nonsense? Can I say this is important? Your lecture changed my whole life. You think that's choice? No, not at all. It's an unfolding process. So he's just, and there's a lot of these just really weird, just kind of places to go in. As long as you have an ego, you're on a limited trip. You're on a trivial trip that's going to last maybe, 60, say 70, maybe 80 years, and full with fear of its end, trying to make its own eternity. Well, if I am not speaking, if I am not what I thought I was, how did I get into this? Who am I? For only when I know who I am will I know what is possible.
That's interesting. I've read a couple of his quotes, too.
This is the one that really got me. And this is just, there's a really long one that this is in the middle of, but this one really kind of took me by surprise last night. If I'm a potter, I make pots. But who is making the pots? I am not under the illusion. I am not under the illusion that I am making the pots. Pots are. The potter is. That's some heavy stuff, man.
And Ramdad also say, man with nail sticking out of his head never fuck with man holding a hammer.
What?
Man with nails sticking out of his head never fucks with a man holding a hammer.
Smart one. Smart man. Yeah. Smart man. The other one, and I couldn't find it in here to reference tonight, but the other one that I got that was pretty heavy was the only thing I can do for you is work on myself. And the only thing you can do for me is work on yourself.
Yeah,
I
saw that you
yeah.
That.
I don't know, man. It was weird because it just like, and I was just flipping through it, just reading all these quotes, sitting in this chair, just kind of hanging out. And after about 15 minutes of this, I was like, all right, let's go conquer the world. Like, I'm good. Let's do it. Just change my whole perspective, man. It's amazing how like little stuff in life can do that. Can just totally kind of take you by surprise and just turn you around and go, God, why was I being such a, like, pussy, I guess, is a good word? Like, why was I being such a, like, negative Nancy?
Apprehensive, out of your environment. I'm sure I'd feel the same way. I don't think a book of spiritual quotations would help me, though. I'd have to probably go and double up on the martinis.
I don't know, man. You'd be surprised. It's amazing how I really believe everything in life, like the universe puts things in your place when you need them, right? It puts things in front of you. It puts you on the right path when you need to be on that right path, when certain things need to happen. And I think like me coming into contact with this book at that time in that place was exactly what I needed, because now I'm going to read through the whole thing. But it's interesting because some people just don't pay attention. Yeah. I think life it gives you all these things. It gives you all these clues. It kind of lets you know what you're supposed to be doing right now. But some people are just so freaking stubborn. They just don't want to listen. They go, screw you, life, I know what I'm doing. And they just don't want to pay attention. And it's like driving the wrong way when there's, the GPS is telling you you're on the wrong path. And, you're seeing the road signs that are saying the wrong way. But you're still going, no, I know I'm supposed to go left here. So those road signs must be wrong. And that GPS must be wrong. And my wife in the back of the car yelling at me wrong. Everything else. And that's the thing. At some point, there's a really good quote. Like, if everybody else around you is calling you an asshole, or if you think everybody around you is an asshole, then maybe in reality you're the asshole, right? So, yeah, that's my heaviness for the night, man. Wanted to get that out there because that stuff is.
I do gotta say one thing. When you were talking about, you said the CEO of DirecTV was there.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you one thing. They are awesome. They treat veterans very well. Not like Comcast or anything like that. Yeah, I told them that I was still under contract when I moved, and the place I'm moving to wouldn't allow me to hook up a DirecTV satellite. So I told them, and they're like, okay, not a problem. Nothing. No qualms about breaking my contract because I was in the military. Comcast, on the other hand, demonic demons of some satanic ritual during their customer service. I don't know what the hell they do, but DirecTV, really nice. Oh, you're a veteran, you're moving? All right, we'll break your contract. Not a problem. Thank you very much for your service. Here's your final bill. So
that's pretty cool. I've never heard good things about Comcast. I don't know what it is. I've just never heard good things about them.
They own NBC. I mean, anything that takes anything that takes pride in owning NBC isn't that good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you watch 30 Rock?
The first time I ever watched it, I was on a plane, and it was already out. I mean, it was out for probably, I don't know, 5-6 years. I saw a couple.
It's a pretty good show.
They were funny, but I'm just not even in the TV shows.
Yeah. The later episodes, they actually do that. When NBC got bought out by Comcast, they call it Cable Town, and that's like they do this whole parody on the whole kind of Comcast, just their organization, their culture, everything else like that. Very interesting.
They're horrible, and they were the very first radio station or radio broadcaster in the country. Was NBC? They were run by Westinghouse, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's your history. NBC was the very first one. And then CBS. I don't know where the hell ABC came along, but But historically, it was always NBC and CBS.
Well, speaking of getting out of your contract for moving, how's school going? I mean, that's why you moved, right? So you're there, you're in school, you're unsuccessfully trying to take pictures of women's butts in classes, and getting plenty of flack from guys who are professionals at that, which is the rest of the military media mafia. I even suggested pull the fire alarm and yell fire and take a picture when she gets up. I don't think you did that. So
no. School. Well, let's put it. When I took my placement exam, I knew I was going to be at a disadvantage when it came to math because I thought about it last night. All right, it's not embarrassing. Whatever. It's part of me. I didn't really pay attention in school in high school. I had other things on my mind, like just not being there. I didn't want to be there. I wasn't going to play nice and say grin and bear it and get through it. So I was thinking to myself yesterday. And, I passed the 8th grade. 9th grade, I failed English because during English class, we were reading Greek mythology. I didn't like the story we were reading in class, so I read the whole book. I'm like, I'm going to find something that's interesting in this book. I read the whole thing. So I remember in the final exam, they go, write an essay about one of the Greek mythologies you read about. So Jason and the Argonauts, here we go. Read it, then the teacher came up. We didn't read this in class. Tore it up, gave me a 0. I'm like, no, I read it. Instructions say, he didn't like me to begin with. I'm like, the instructions said, write an essay you read, that entailed about a story you read. I'm like, this is the story I read. No, in class. So I'm like, and now thinking back on it, I'm like, wouldn't the teacher be, wow, you read the whole book on your own instead of just the 3 stories I told you to read? Yeah, I read the whole book because I wanted to find something that sparked my, my interest in this book. So I failed English because of that, and I was a year behind on English. Sophomore year, the same thing. Something didn't interest me, so I didn't really take too much time in doing anything. And then I dropped out maybe a month into my sophomore year. So I really think about it. The last grade I actually completed was the 8th grade, in a full scale. So I am in what I like to call retard math. I admit I'm in a very basic algebra, and that's it. So I am in this class that is so freaking annoying. I'm in this class, and I got what do you want to say? I'm in this class where I'm basically starting off about addition and subtraction and basic algebra, and I'm like, this is not interesting. So I'm going to fall into the same trap with this if something doesn't interest me in this class really soon. All the other classes are fun. Rhetoric, I don't know what the hell rhetoric is, but I'm in it. And he still hasn't explained what rhetoric is. He explains what we're going to do in the class, like what Greek people we're going to be talking about, what Romans we're going to be talking about, what guy from Finland we're going to be talking about. But he's never answered the question what rhetoric is. So I guess it's going to take me a very long time to figure out what the hell this guy's talking about.
Rhetoric, noun, the art of effective or persuasive speaking or writing, especially the use of figures of speech and other compositional techniques. So I'm guessing you'll be arguing?
I guess.
Language designed to have a persuasive or impressive effect on its audience, but often regarded as lacking in sincerity or meaningful content. Politicians. Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah. I've used rhetoric from what he explains. I'm like, I've used it, but he's never answered the question of, to him, what is rhetoric and what he wants to get across to us. He kind of is beating around the bush on it. So that's whatever. That's going to be a dull class, I think, but he seems to be interesting. And then the mass media, that's going to be fun. Well, rhetoric, I know what he wants us to get into, how Greek rhetoric ties into marketing and commercials and advertisement and stuff like that. So I'm like, there's potential at the end. The beginning, first half of the semester is probably going to suck ass. But the mass media,
like it's just going to be like public speaking almost.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of other stuff that I like, college writing, English, all this other fun stuff. So I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be exciting. I just don't want to fall into the same trap. But I found myself the very first day of school listening to grunge music, smoking a cigarette, and carrying a Jansport book bag. So not much has changed with Silent J in the last 20 years of higher education. So.
Did you get thrown in a locker at any point?
No, but I have a feeling there's a guy in my English class that wants to do it because I'm the oldest person by far in my English class. Everyone else is 18 and 19. I heard all this stuff. You're not going to be the oldest person in your classes. You know, college is a mixture of all different ages and backgrounds, and that's total bullshit. In the retard math, there's another dummy that's my age in there with me. I'm like, oh, you're either a bored housewife or you didn't really pay attention or your husband left you. That's why you're here. One of the three things. Everybody else is young. All my other classes, I am the oldest person, especially the writing class that I'm in. The professor asked, anybody here read Mark Twain? Nobody raised their hand except for me.
Really?
Yeah. Then they're like, he asked me a question about Mark Twain, and luckily my articles in ironmikemag.com, there's a good cheap plug. I end each article with a quote from Mark Twain. Every man believes they'll have something. I'll have another drink. That was a Mark Twain quote. I like it. Yeah. So it's astounding to me that when the instructor, I've been in the Army too long, when the professor asks a question, nobody raises their hands. And I don't want to be the one to constantly raise my hand. But I also realize if somebody raises their hand, it might get things to go a lot smoother. If not, this guy's just going to be up there just, barreling through stuff, and it's going to be dull. And maybe I could add something to it to excite, or pique this guy's interest and get him off on something of an interesting tangent. But no, the people are so unplugged to what's around them in my school so far. Just the kids, when I mean kids that are like half my age, I'm literally old enough to be their parents, and I don't like it. I don't like to be. I mean, I'd be young having them, but I'm old enough to be their dad. And yeah, it's a complete different world. There is a huge generational gap. I'm sure your father told you there's a a generational gap between you and him, and people that were older than us. You always hear that, but the generation below us, they're just oblivious to everything. I mean, I'm on my phone a lot. I do a lot through my phone, with email and shows and stuff like that, and business and whatnot. But I don't know what these kids aren't reading anything interesting on their phones. I don't know what they're doing.
Watching anything interesting or doing anything interesting or saying anything interesting or being interesting at all.
Yeah, they're just a bunch of dull, they're idiots. Now I realize why a lot of the faculty I've talked to have referred to the students in school as idiots, because they are. They are idiots. I'm sure individually there's some nice people, but collectively you put them together, they're a bunch of lemmings. I want to find a cliff, run towards it, and make a quick U-turn and see how many of them go off the edge. So my goal...
Unfortunately, probably a lot.
Yeah, well, my goal is to completely crush and destroy everybody. Just grade-wise, project-wise, we got a lot of projects we got to do, especially our mass media class. I got to put out a media product. Like what we're doing right now would be considered my final exam. So we got to put something out. So I'm like, I already passed this class. I already did. And the instructor, the professor, she was a newscaster. She was in the radio. She worked for the WWE for a short time. So she's done everything like that I would like to do, like just tackle media and do it all. So I had a question here, like, how do you work? What do you want to do? This, that. Basically, kind of get to know you. And so you like to work with groups or not? And I looked around at everybody. I'm like, I don't want to work with anybody and have them bring my grades down. So I'm like, I prefer to work by myself so I can get the most out of myself. But I will work with a group if I need to.
Are they going to pair you up, or is it going to be one of those awkward, like, okay, find your group, and you go, well, I don't know any of the assholes, so...
I don't know anybody. I think I have a cousin that goes to school there somewhere, but not quite sure. So I just want to be solo as much as I can when it comes to stuff like that. When it comes like the speaking, and get part of stuff or putting together something like this, and it's like I know what I can do, and I know I'm better than you dummies. I don't want to sound conceited or egotistical, but I am better than you guys are learning this. I've been doing this self-taught for like the last 5 years. My grade's going to be awesome, and I don't want anybody latching onto my A or bringing me down to a B. So.
But see, so for like me and like the way that I see things, what happens if you turn it in, and let's just say you take an episode of this show and turn it in, and the teacher's like, this is crap, you failed.
Oh, I'm not turning in an episode of this.
That should be an extremely F-bomb heavy episode.
Yeah, but it's like, we gotta, the whole gist of the classes. I gotta put something together media-wise. So it's like this is gonna be awesome. This is challenging. I almost feel like I should add another class. Like math is gonna be challenging for me because I've never been introduced to some of the stuff I'm learning because I left school before that. So I'm not a dummy. This is new. So I'm like, okay, this is learning. I'm going to be learning this. Everything else, it's like, bitches, I got this. So now I'm going to walk around. I can't wait. I'm going to walk around and just every time I walk into class, I'm going to look at everybody like, I'm going to destroy you here and the marketplace. So maybe I'll give one of you guys pity 5-10 years down the road and hire you to do something for me. Not very important. So that's it. I just want to kill, destroy, kill. I want to be a German in Rome right now when it comes to class. I just want to destroy everything and everybody. So I just want to. I'm
German in Rome? Yep. I've never heard that. I've never heard that saying before.
When in Rome, do as the Germans do. So I'm just looking at it as a challenge. I did the same thing in the military. I saw everything as a challenge. I'm like, I'm a team player, but while we're doing this together, I want to be just a little bit better than you, and hopefully the guy next to me is saying the same thing, looking at me going, I want to be just a little bit better than you. I want to push you. I like competition. I like how it brings out the best in creativity. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to get that push in school from other students, at least this semester. So,
yeah, and that's, I mean, something about this generation. I've seen it from a lot of different places. I saw it in the Army. I saw it when I went to UCLA. I saw it at Raytheon. I've seen it everywhere I've been. There is a big difference in the current generation, our generation, and just, like checked out, lack of motivation, just all kinds of other things, man. So you just, I don't know, man. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it went wrong because, I mean, they were taught by a generation that seemed to have their act together, right? So I don't know where this is coming from, but it really is like the whole participation ribbon thing. Like Patton Oswalt loves to say we should all blame hippies because hippies were so like free love and acid and all that stuff, and then they became the most like hardcore parents, and like they're the ones that made everything illegal because it might hurt somebody if they do something stupid, while these people were like dancing naked on multiple hits of acid in the middle of the street. And so, like, I don't know how it is that you went from these generations to these kids that just, I don't know, like, it's the participation ribbon generation, where that's it. They don't get it. They expect to win. They expect to get what they want. They expect, the American mentality used to be, I go to a place, I'll start off at the lowest position, I'll work my ass off. I do 18-hour days for the first couple of years, and I start moving my way up the ladder, and I work and work and work, and eventually I run the company. But now, like, we have people that walk in. Like, I saw people at UCLA that were like walk in and be like, not good students, never did an internship, not really qualified for the job at all, and expect to have like middle to upper level management and get paid $100,000 a year. And like, do you understand how bad your resume is and the fact that you can't even communicate with me very well? Like, why the hell would I put you in charge of anything, much less one of the top hospitals in the nation? Like,
yeah, who do you really blame? You can't blame partially blame the kids in this generation, but is it us? Because I look at it as like, okay, kids are babies now, so it's like it's got to be us. It's got to be our generation. I mean, I know the hippies kind of screwed things up, but couldn't be that bad. Could it?
In all reality, I don't know if this has all the blame, but rap music and reality TV have a large part of the blame in my mind. I think they're a big part of the blame.
I definitely agree with you on reality TV because the whole danger of like anybody could be a star. It's just now you look at it. Now you look at all like Vine videos, Facebook stuff on YouTube, and it's like, yeah, you could be a star, but not for the right reasons. Usually when somebody made it on TV, it's because they had a skill. Whether they funny, informative, intelligent, a good actor. Not saying I'm big into acting and stuff like that, but you brought something to the table. Now just any idiot can be on TV.
Yeah, well, especially reality TV. I mean, acting, like, whatever. I have no respect left for actors, period. But
I mean,
a lot of other things. Like,
I mean, actors that were really, really captivating. I'm not going to say like soap opera actors. Sorry, Geoff Reeves, one of our buddies. You're a great actor.
But acting. So here's acting, and this is the thing that like blows my mind because actors get paid more than most people in the TV or movie or whatever it is. They get paid more than most people, and they do the least. So they essentially show up and they recite lines somebody else wrote in a way directed to them by somebody else that tells them how they should look. Somebody else does their makeup. Somebody else does all the editing to make sure it comes together right. And if you actually watch a movie or a TV show being filmed, these people really only have to memorize like a minute of dialogue at a time because they shoot it all in these little segments. And so they can literally just walk up, read one paragraph before they go on and do it. And it's like, those people deserve $10 million a movie? Really?
See, that's why I want to make documentaries. I want reality TV made by and for intelligent people. So.
Well, and the funny thing about this, and I've been, so I live in LA. My ex-wife was an actress, which is why I have no respect left for actors. But this is the thing I've been saying for a very long time. Like, I think unions are destroying the country. Period. Just the way they are. And SAG-AFTRA is a big one. The way actors work is if I get paid, if I do a show and I move my way up and I get like a big part and I get paid a certain amount of money, I can't ever be paid less than that amount of money, right? So my next job, they have to pay me more or the same of what I made last time. And so it got to a point where people, you get to these big movies and you get people that might not be great and might not even have huge significant parts, but their contract and the union requires them to get paid a certain amount of money. So for a very long time, I've been going, that is not cost efficient. At some point, they're just going to hire extras out of wherever, because honestly, unless you're one of the top people, who gives a shit? If you only got 5 minutes in the whole movie, who cares if you're a classically trained actor from Juilliard or if you're just some guy off the street that can memorize a minute of dialogue at a time for whatever you're going to pay him? And people always thought I was insane, and now that's exactly what's happening. Sony Studios is leaving Los Angeles. Nothing is filmed here, and when a movie leaves, they'll bring like the top 2 or 3 names in a movie from Los Angeles. Everybody else in that movie is just hired on location wherever they are. If they're filming in Detroit, if they're filming in Florida, if they're filming in New Orleans, wherever it is, they just hire non-union people from like theatrical majors in college. Like they'll just hire anybody that's in that state that'll work as an actor, as an extra, because in all reality, it doesn't matter, and any idiot can learn a couple lines of dialogue at a time, and they don't have to pay them $1 million. They can pay them $1,000 for the day.
Yeah, I think I think there should be a union if you're a coal miner. That might be helpful. History has told us unions help people that were digging under the ground. Somebody on a stage or at a radio, even actors this for radio DJs. What the hell is a radio? First of all, I've never met a radio DJ that's not nationally syndicated that makes a lot of money. So I mean, the union's not helping you with a great wage because most DJs make like what, 20 grand. Your typical FM DJ, I'd say about 20 grand, 18 to 30 grand. I mean, so how's that union helping you? I mean, what does the union say? You could only play one shitty Pearl Jam song every 2 hours? I mean, is that built into your contract? But I mean, I think union should be in some spots. Acting definitely not, because what is it? I mean, look at this platter of sandwiches. My contract says you got to have 15% salami. I mean, what do you do? I mean, the grip, he can't hold a microphone, he can't hold a boom for longer than 10 minutes at a time. I mean, really, I don't get it. You already have Scientology in Hollywood, so what do you need the Actors Guild around for? So.
Well, and even the president or the CEO of SAG-AFTRA a few months ago came out and said Los Angeles is the worst place in the country to be an up-and-coming actor right now. Because it just, like, California got so expensive, they kicked Hollywood out of Hollywood, which is insane. That's just the way it is. Like, it's so expensive here, it just is not cost-effective for anybody to be here for anything. And so, fortunately, it's probably doing wonders for porn. You got a lot of really attractive people that move out here and just, they got nothing else to do, so it's like, all right, sweetie, go back to Iowa, or there you go. There's the fluffer, there's the sandwich platter, get naked. And that's, unfortunately, like, people don't get it, but most people don't come here looking to be in porn. They come here looking to be in, they want to make it big, and they realize after 3 months, LA's freaking expensive. It's very hard, maybe one out of every million people that comes here to be an actor actually gets any kind of decent thing that you can afford to live in this godforsaken place.
I hope to build a career around movies and entertainment and never step foot one time in Los Angeles. That's what I want to do. I have no need to ever go to LA. Just no reason at all. I'll go out to Ventura to visit my aunt that lives out there, but I want to do exactly what they do in Hollywood, but never go there. I mean, I could go to Austin, Nashville, or hell, Toronto, Vancouver. I'll go to Vancouver. They make a lot of movies there, and I'm pretty sure their pot's a lot better there.
Hell, heroin. You can get government-funded heroin there. You ever watch Vice?
Oh yeah, I love Vice.
Yeah, they have. If you're a heroin addict, they have like heroin labs you go to, and they like have beds and stuff for you. They give you the needles, they give you the heroin, they give you everything, and you just go. If you're a Canadian citizen, you just go chill out, do your smack and go. And so I was watching this episode. It showed like dudes coming in business suits and like getting off work, like, oh, it's time for my daily fix, and like go and they, it's insane. It's all they make it in a laboratory, so they know exactly what it is. And being a conservative, this is where there's always this argument going on in my head, about, because I'm a conservative libertarian who also has a hippie side, right? So it's like every once in a while, two sides of my brain like start yelling at each other, like, what are you talking about, you goddamn hippie? what are you talking about, man? This aggression will not be tolerated, man. Like just going on and going on. So when I see this, the first part of my head is like, what is going on? You're giving junkies smack. How are they ever going to get off this? What is going on? Blah, blah, blah. But then you're reading it. My other side of my brain, my rational side, is going. They start talking about crime statistics and how fast crime dropped when they did that, because junkies are no longer out there robbing old ladies' purses. They're not out there doing that. They're not ODing in the street. They have like a crash cart in these clinics, right? So if somebody ODs, there you go. Nobody gets fake stuff, or nobody injects Clorox in their veins or anything like that, because it's all made in a laboratory, like tested and everything else. And so they showed the numbers in the long run, and this is crazy, but it actually saves them a ton of money. It saves them a ton of money.
It makes sense. I mean, you look at Portugal, for example. They said STDs and crime dropped immensely when they just said, okay, we're going to legalize pot, we're going to legalize coke, we're going to legalize acid, we're going to legalize prostitution. It's just when there are no vices left, what do you do? I mean, most people turn to drugs for, I'm not going to say most times, but a lot of times people just turn to that stuff just because it's the rebellious thing to do. I mean, other people do it for self-medication, but a lot of people just do it just because they were told no for so long,
Yeah.
And then you get into harder stuff and heavier stuff. But if you tell people you can do whatever you want, you can do anything, a lot of people might just say, I just want to be safe. Why am I gonna push the boundaries if there are no boundaries to push?
Right. Well, that's the funny thing, because Amsterdam is like the one that everybody kind of goes back to and uses the example. Like Amsterdam, this is crazy. When I was in high school, my junior year of high school, one of my best friends, his dad was an Exxon executive, got not stationed, but he got transferred to work in The Hague, so in the Netherlands, like 20 minutes outside of Amsterdam. And my dad was an airline pilot, so I had free plane tickets. So my my spring break, my junior year of high school, I went to Amsterdam for a week to go hang out with my buddy Will. And it's funny because Amsterdam is just like, yeah. And my dad is not a stupid guy. He knew what I was going there to do. But one very important thing about Amsterdam, the Dutch don't partake in any of that stuff.
Really?
The locals, you'll never see one of them there. You'll never see one of them token up. You'll never see them doing it. Purely economics. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about, because for them, it's there. There is no there is no social stigma about it. There's nothing. It's just there. It's not a rebellious thing. It's nothing. It's just like, whatever, okay, yeah, go, shoot some smack and bang a hooker. Like, it's there. So it's not this like, ooh, I'm being a bad boy or taboo. It's just the way it is. And so they just don't. But they let all the tourists come in and do it, and they make a shitload of money off of them. So
yeah, I mean,
very smart.
Look at Colorado. I mean, they said like some crimes have dropped. I mean, other than dealing, but like petty theft and crimes and stuff like that. It would be awesome in a utopian society where, and I'm not, I have hippie tendencies, but I know what I did when I was a scourge of society, and that's I know what would stop me. Huh?
I said is that past tense? You sure that should be past tense?
Let's just say there's certain things I was doing that are probably, I don't know, I think the statute of limitations might have went up. It was in the 90s, but I was not very nice. You would have seen me on your way to Amsterdam for a school trip. You looked at that guy like, maybe I should give him $1. He might, I don't know, he might need it for like a sandwich or something like that. I was bad. I was just a rotten person. Which brings me up to somebody I wanted to talk about quick. I wasn't this bad. I watched a movie, sort of documentary about a serial killer named Panzram. He was from Minnesota.
Drug? Isn't that a medication? Like
it might be. They might have named it after him. He was executed at Fort Leavenworth back in like 1930. He admitted to like dozens and dozens of murders and sodomies and stuff like that, and he did it for pure.
Which one do you think's worse?
Lashing was murder or sodomy. I don't know. It depends on what's happening to you at that very moment. I'd probably say sodomy.
maybe the end of a really fun Saturday night. So yeah,
except if you're on the wrong end of that Saturday night, it's like, oh, just choke me already. But he was he was a runaway. He was put into a reform school. He was basically, Jesus was beaten into him, and he realized that right then and there that he just wanted to exact revenge on all of mankind. So he turned into a hobo, and I guess he was gang raped by 4 people when he was like 12 or 13. And as a hobo, I guess I didn't realize that a lot of hobos around the turn of the century partook in sodomy. It was just like, I'm in charge around here, and this is how I'm going to show my dominance. I guess when you really put people at the most raw sense, you're going to get some animalistic tendencies. It's like when the dogs hump each other. But yeah, he became one of the baddest guys around, and he broke into William Taft's home after he was president, stole a bunch of his bonds, and some of this stuff they couldn't prove, but a lot of the stuff they actually could prove. He joined the army when he was 16. He spent 3 years locked up because for stealing. He was just a bad man. And by all accounts, for eyewitness accounts, when he was finally going to be hung, he was leading the way. He was pulling the guards, let's get this over with. Quote was I could have hung 10 people in the time it's taken you to botch this one up. I wanted to die. And there was a guard that guarded him for a while in Washington, D.C. in a prison there, and was sneaking him papers, and this guy actually wrote his life story. I think he was able to write down 40,000 words, and then this prison guard went on to write about him, and I guess it's a very fascinating book. I want to read it now because everything he said, maybe if I was treated just a little bit differently, I'd have a different outlook on life. But right. I was treated rotten, so I'm just going to destroy everything that I see around me. And there's no good of mankind. So he wanted to die. There was actually a group in Kansas that was trying to fight their capital punishment group, and he's like, no, you don't represent me, because if you let me out, I'll kill every one of you. He was just a bad man, just a very, very bad man. So, yeah, he raped and murdered his way to being hung. So.
Have you ever read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie?
No, I did not. But I'm pretty sure he never used sodomy as an example.
Hey, depends on the people. But there's I know some people that's like a handshake to them. But there's there's a very interesting something that you said in there really kind of hit home with me, because there's a part in that book where he talks about I can't remember the name of the guy, but he was one of the gangsters in Chicago named Tommy Gun, Babyface, something like that. And this guy was public enemy #1 on Hoover's to get list. He was a bank robber, killed a bunch of people, did all these other things. And somebody did an interview with him, and he legitimately did not think he was a bad guy. He thought he was just a normal person that had all these bad circumstances happen to him. And he couldn't quantify the fact that, killing 30 or 40 people and robbing a bunch of banks and doing all this other stuff makes you a bad guy, situation or not. But he really, in his head, did not believe he was a bad guy.
Yeah, the very opposite. This guy knew he was a bad guy. He knew he was bad. At one point, he was in a prison in upstate New York or Kansas or somewhere like that. And this guy kept taunting him where they worked in the kitchen together. And he's like, I'm going to kill you. And one day he got a hold of a pipe, bludgeoned him to death, and then just started beating all the prisoners around him, killing them. And the quote or comment, I might be butchering it, he went up to one of the guards, he dropped the pipe, raised his hands, he was like, I don't have any more to kill. So he was just a bad guy. And he said he was tough in everything. All forms of punishment toughened him. When he was in Leavenworth, the Army had him, carry around a 50-pound ball and break big rocks into little rocks, all day long, and walk 3 miles out with his wheelbarrow there, work 8.5 hours, come 3 miles back with this 50-pound ball. So it's just even being in prison made him tougher. And Actually, the Birdman at Alcatraz was a next door cellmate and actually wrote about him. So this guy's legitimate, and there are firsthand accounts that like what he did in prison, what he said was true. They can't take everything into account, but they added up some of his stories and like, yep, that had to be. He had to be there. He's the only one that could have known that, could have known this. But he said, yeah, I stopped in New Haven, Connecticut, and sodomized a couple boys, killed one of them, stole some money. Yeah, I broke into this guy's house and stole some saving bonds and this part of Connecticut and bought a yacht and hired 3 guys from the Navy to work on there. I sodomized all of them, killed them, threw them off the boat, and come to find out he burglarized the former president's house and took his savings bonds and got 40, 50 grand from a former president and bought a yacht. So it's just a bad man. So
speaking of bad men, there's another bad man that we were talking about before we got started tonight.
Yes.
And I did a little celebration dance because there's definitely a tie in there with me. You want to talk about that one?
Yeah, they when I hate when people say they said, but they being some investigators and some doctors in England have finally identified notorious serial killer Jack the Ripper. And your fear was that he was going to be a Freemason.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories that there was one particular doctor that was in the area that because that was the thing when they were killed, their bodies had some specific it was like an autopsy being performed or something very specific on the way that they were killed, and so they thought it was this one Freemason doctor. And
I heard that, and I also heard royalty. A couple higher ups, but it was none of that. Listen, God, I really hate to rile up the conservatives on the border, southern border right now, but it was an immigrant. Bunch of people in Texas.
What kind of immigrant?
A Polish immigrant.
He
got tired. How many Polacks does it take to screw in a light bulb? Because how many Polacks does it take to screw through you with a knife? That's the new punchline, fucker.
Now we got to build a fence around Poland.
Yeah. Didn't they already try that before? Aaron Kosminski, a 23-year-old Polish immigrant who ended up dying in an asylum. They identified him from DNA evidence from the shawl of one of the people who was killed, and they extracted a bunch of DNA evidence, and his was actually on there. His blood was on there, part with one of the victims, and I guess at one point he was a suspect, but they had no evidence. So for about 100 years, over 100 years, they thought it was a Freemason, and it turned out to be a Polak.
That's so all right, so I've seen Jurassic Park. I still don't understand. So it was blood, or was it semen, or what was it that they got off this shawl?
It looked like, he said, one of the rippers, blood soaked. It looks like blood. Yeah, it looks like blood. That was actually bought and sold a couple times. It was found on the body of Catherine Eddowes. This was one of the victims. So I guess this was bought and sold a couple times. And how they made the connection, how they were to tie in this Aaron Kosminski, I don't know, but they're saying it is. So it's all over the internet, so it must be true. Yeah,
I read it on the internet. It must be true. As long as it's not a Freemason, unless it's part of the Zionist Masonic conspiracy to take down the Polak race who is trying to overthrow America?
That's probably what it is. And actually, this is where it gets even crazier. That at that time, this part of Poland was actually a part of Russia, the Russian Empire. It was under the Russian Empire in 1865. That's where he was born. He immigrated to the UK with his family in 1881. He was born in the town of Kladowa.
So have you heard about the NATO action, all the stuff that NATO's doing against Russia now in response to this Ukraine BS?
Yeah, sanctions, the typical sanctions.
I got to bring it up again, though, because this is why you don't gloat. This is why you don't talk smack. This is why you never think that you are like absolutely the shit, because there's a lot of chance for you to be wrong. Still, 2014 election or 2012 election, Obama and Romney. Romney saying Russia is our biggest threat. Russia is going to be our future war. Russia is this, Russia that. And Obama with his just smug, no political experience, not an ounce of morals or brain. Well, he's got brains, but I don't know, not much of a sense of being a man in his body. Saying, oh, well, you know what, the 1980 foreign policy call, and they want their ideas back. Like, for me, I think every politician needs somebody in their cabinet to tell them every day, hey, you're a dipshit. Just because you get surrounded by yes men and, like, you're always going to think whatever you're doing is right. A lot of times it's not. And, like, for me, I wholeheartedly say that. Like, I keep friends around that maybe I don't even like very much, that I know don't like me, and when I'm doing something stupid, just love to be able to tell me, hey, you're being an idiot. Like, I think everybody needs that. And I hope there's somebody in the White House every day going, hey, dipshit, like, playing that clip for him, going, what do you think about them apples, huh? Because, like, and he's trying to backtrack on Iraq now, saying, like, well, it was never my idea to pull us out of Iraq completely. This wasn't this isn't my fault, this is my fault.
I saw that series of clips. I'm pulling us out of Iraq. I'm pulling us out of Iraq. And then the last clip, wasn't my idea to pull us out of Iraq. It's like, listen, man, we've all made mistakes. Some of us have made huge mistakes. Some of them being presidents. Some presidents out there have made gigantic mistakes. Like that time JFK didn't want to use the hardtop, car. Huge mistake. Oh, it's a sunny day in Dallas. I could go for a tan. That wasn't good. Then his head went back into the left. But we all make really horrible mistakes. Even at work, I've made really bad mistakes, down the line, and I've admitted it, and sometimes you don't want to admit it right then and there, but you'll admit it, you'll get over it, and hopefully you learn from it. Like, you would think, he was the type of guy, I think, that, if somebody did something, he would cry, he would run home and cry, he'd grab his ball and go home and cry with his ball. That's just what it seems like. I don't know, he just doesn't, you look at some presidents, like, yeah, I've made a mistake. Reagan seemed like that type, not Nixon, but Reagan is an example that, like, yeah, whatever, I'm man enough to admit it, or FDR or Teddy Roosevelt, the really good ones. I mean, even Clinton, who I'm kind of wishy-washy on that guy, but it's like, come on, Obama. Like, this is the age of the internet. Like, 2 seconds, I just found out you're a liar.
Yep.
It's not like years ago, let me find that microfilm. Now it's like, look, gotcha. Somebody could do that at the press conference. Why doesn't the press do that when they ask them questions? Why don't they pull something up? Like, what you said is not true, because, look, you would be never invited to the White House again, but you will be the most famous journalist. You will be, right. You'll make your own future. Why doesn't a journalist do that? Give me a press conference.
Have you ever heard of Amber Lyon?
Yes.
You heard her stuff? Like, that's the thing. Like, the journalist himself might, but there's a couple levels of control between the journalist and what goes on the nightly news. And it's just like, and I've had to have this conversation with people a lot lately about, well, God, can you believe what's going on in Iraq? And I have to give the same thing over and over as, yeah, I could have told you 5 years ago this was going to happen, when they kicked back every report we sent up saying these monkeys are nowhere near ready. They still run at the first gunshot that gets fired at them. They can't shoot for shit, and they're pussies. But then our reports would get kicked back, and we'd have to say, oh, these are the finest warriors I've ever met, and they're totally ready to take over their own country. The second they started kicking that back, because it was all politics, the second they started kicking that back, every one of us knew this will not end well. And that's just, it's one of those things where I hate to say I told you so, especially with people losing their lives, but told you so. Yep. We all knew this shit was coming.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, there's a time. Okay, I'll give you a while. Like, you could blame the last guy. Like, there was a time like, hey, it was George W. And people are like, oh, okay, yeah, I could see that because he was so polarizing. It's been what, 6 years now since he was in, and it's like you can't use him as an excuse anymore. I mean, you're halfway in your second term. It's like that. That's got to stop. I could understand the first year. I mean, after 9/11, I could sit there. George Bush could could have sit there and said, like, listen, my policies aren't even in place yet. This is the last guy. This is Clinton. This is Clinton. Everyone probably would have said, it was Clinton. It was only 9 months into his term,
Right.
With Bush. But it's like, I never heard Bush say that, and I wasn't always a fan of Bush. I kind of thought he was a jerk at times. But
I like it clean. I like it totally clean, waxed. Oh, different Bush. Okay.
You caught me off guard for a second. I'm like, no, I don't think he waxed. But it's like, come on, Obama. It's like, don't give me a reason to dislike you more than I already do. Now you're a lie. Now you're lying. Now you're saying the internet's a liar. That's not true. I could pull up a clip of you on Facebook right now or Vine and prove you wrong. Give me 1 hour with a Washington press pass. I'll make this show the best fucking show ever. Won't get a sponsor yet, still, but we'll be on the map. Maybe Vice will pick us up.
Well, and that's so I have to equate essentially if the United States is a business and we're a capitalistic society, so we essentially are a business. The president is the COO or the CEO, right? So he is the executive, the guy that's running. Well, the guy that likes to pretend he's running the show. In reality, he's just a puppet. But if he was the executive, look at any other company in the world. If the CEO of, let's just say DirecTV. Let's say DirecTV is going down the tubes, they're making bad decision after bad decision. If 6 years into it, the CEO of DirecTV is still blaming all their problems on the previous CEO, how much longer do you think he's going to sit around? That board of directors is going to shit-can his ass in a second.
Yeah. It's I think it should be how the way it used to be. The president should be the guy who won, and then the the VP should be the guy who lost. I mean, I think it's like, I mess up one time, the guy I beat can take my spot. I think that's how it should be, because there's too much coddling. I don't think there's so much coddling going on in the business world.
Yeah.
Especially with it being cutthroat, because like you got a guy that's like, I'm 3 steps from being the CEO. Or the CEO, or the CFO, whatever the case may be. It's like, if I could just get rid of this guy, let him slip up, and I'm going to show I can take it. Is business like that? Is it cutthroat? I think. I don't know.
A lot of it is.
Yeah.
A lot of it is. I mean, because it's the private sector. You get paid a lot for working hard hours, and so you look at the two different mentalities. Like Mitt Romney, whether or not you like Mitt Romney, he came from the private sector. He was a worker. He came from the place where, like, went to Harvard, went to Columbia, like, worked his butt off. Owned a lot of companies, probably pulled a lot of 20-hour workdays, right? That's just the way he is. That's his mentality, because I know if I don't, somebody else will, and they'll take my job. Then you look at Obama. Came from the academic and the political background where I work exactly what I have to work and not a minute less because I'm tenured and nobody can take my job. Very different approach to everything and mentality. The shit, if I don't perform, somebody's going to take my job, versus the nobody can take my job, so I don't have to perform.
Every aspect of the presidential cabinet, I think, should be voted in. Like, if Secretary of State, we're gonna vote you in. You might have a hodgepodge.
But then Monsanto can't run the FDA, and you can't have pharmaceutical reps doing this. Who the lobby is gonna pay off then? Come on, man.
I'm sorry.
There.
I'm going to make a movie about this one day. I really am. Nobody's going to buy it, not even my co-host, because I'm going to have to give him a copy for free. I'm like, hey, man, can you promote this? But I'm going to talk about, that's the stuff I want to talk about. Like, it makes sense to me. Why the fuck does it, back in the 90s, doing coke off the Burger King floor made sense to me. I've grown a lot in almost 20 years. I've grown an awful lot.
It's a Cheesecake Factory floor. You're going up in the world.
Yeah. Now it's a Tim Hortons. But it's like, God damn, you look at what's going on. It's like, I know it makes sense to me, and it just every aspect of life. Everyone just thinks, okay, yeah, that's the way it should be. It's just I live in a episode of the Twilight Zone. I swear to God, and it's like the only person I can communicate with is some eons away through this magical box device called a computer. I don't even know if you're in LA. Like Dr. Michikaku said, if you don't
maybe I'm not even me.
If you don't see Los Angeles physically, it doesn't exist. I don't know where you are. You don't exist. I'm seeing a moving picture of you. I'm talking to my imagination right now. And it seems like the only guy that has a good head on his shoulders is a guy that's on 3 hours behind me right now. Like, you're in the past, man. I'm in the future. Catch up, dude. Come to the East Coast.
I think you just gave me the idea for my first sci-fi book.
There you go. Can I get a credit in the movie? Extra.
No. I respect you too much to make you an actor.
I don't want to be an actor. Don't give me any lines. I just want to walk by. Hey.
Yeah, I want to do the Stephen King thing where you get this like obligatory, like horrible part in your own, in your own movie whenever they fuck up a great book and make it a shitty movie, made-for-TV movie.
See, and I want to be Stan Lee in every Marvel movie. I just want to give some really great piece of advice. You know, like the old guy version of Kevin Smith. You know, for Silent Bob. I want to be like Silent Bob, a skinny Silent Bob. I'm a Silent J. There you go.
There you go.
Advice. There you go. But I know we got to get going because you got another aspect of the world to take over. So.
Do you have any best worst tweets for humanity this week?
I don't have any. I haven't been on Twitter all week. I got a best worst case scenario for you. If you don't listen to the show, I'm gonna find these people that like us and everything, but don't really listen, and I'm gonna tweet about it. So I'm gonna tweet your name like you're a fake friend of the show.
I like that. That's guerrilla marketing. That's a good one to do.
Oh yeah, because we got 20,000 followers on the Facebook page for Tactical 16. We don't have. I see how many viewers we have. They're missing a lot of stuff next to it. So.
Yeah, find them. There you go. We'll start calling people out. But that actually, the YouTube views are up quite a bit. So I think people don't listen to this at any given time. We need to find a way to track how many people actually listen to this on. That's on media. I think we can. I can get with Adam and do that. That's the marketing side of me wants to do all that. Just the sleep side of me that realizes I'm only getting 4 hours of sleep at this point, and I can't take anything else on.
The shallow psyche part of it, I don't want to see it at all. I mean, the psyche of me, the fragile psyche that I have, I don't want to see those numbers at all.
Yeah, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's like Googling yourself. I'm very happy. Like, thankfully, I do enough different radio shows and spots and stuff like that to where when you Google me, a lot of it's just appearances I've done on other radio and stuff like that. But I've heard a lot of people that are like, whenever you Google, like a lot of like celebrity friends that I have that like whenever they Google their stuff, it's like a gofuckyourself.com where they're just like, ugh.
I started to get excited. I did that for about a year and a half straight. I was Googling myself, and I finally started getting results with different aspects, like quoted in a newspaper, did this show, or this person or that person. So I got excited. I've got my fill. I've left a imprint in the internet. So when I die, I have something to leave behind. That's the history part of me that is now satisfied. So
I gotta say, I know you shouldn't do this, and I'm not a petty. I'm a petty, shallow person. I don't know why. I Googled my ex-wife because I was like, I wonder how she's doing. If there's anything I don't hear about, is she doing okay? Is there anything else going on? Like, does she have any work? Because I know she hasn't worked in a while. And the first 2 pages of her Google results are referencing me. It's like my stuff where I mentioned her.
Nice.
And you're like, God, like that's bad because I feel bad for her. She's the mother of my kids. Like that's I always have that place in my heart for her. But a big part of me was just like,
I know what you mean. That's awesome. I've never had to ask the IMDb or Google, so awesome for you.
Yeah, I know. But again, it's hard because there's a big part of me. I'm a very romantic guy, so I really do. I hope she's doing well. I hope she gets some kind of success or counseling, more importantly. But
definitely.
Yeah.
My daughter's mother. I wish nothing but the best. She annoys me at times. I'm sure I annoy her, but there's other exes out there. Oh man, HIV man, it can't come soon enough. I hope you accidentally get sneezed on by magic because it does transfer like that. I don't care what anybody says. So.
All right. So on that petty note, I think we'll call it a night. So everybody, wherever you're finding this, remember next Sunday you can follow us at 7:30 Pacific Time. 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. You can watch us live if you follow us on Google Plus. Follow Center Master Robin Silent J. Add us to your circles. You can watch us and get the updates when we're going live. You can actually interact with us, ask us questions, watch our ugly mugs go back and forth and do what we're doing. Of course, you can pick this up on iTunes, Podbean, vetsonmedia.com. Make sure you check out Tactical16.com, MilitaryMediaMafia.com, IronMikeMag.com, LoveMeWhenI'mGone.com, FarFromCenter.com, and GoFuckYourself.com. We got to throw that in there once because we mentioned it already, so here's another shameless plug. So everybody that's out there, I want to say thank you very much for joining us, wherever it may be. If you're watching us, listening to us, you're going to follow us up at another point. Thanks for support. Thanks for being there, and thanks for joining in. Even those of you that Jay just ridiculed and called fake friends and followers. So we will be back next week. So thanks you guys for joining in. For Center Master Rob and Silent J, I'm Rob.
I am Silent J.
I want to say always stand your ground. Don't fire unless fired upon. But if you mean to have a war, let it begin here. We're out, bitches.